Hi, I'm Anthony Stevenson. You're watching Read Between the Lines.
With the recent announcement that Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao will finally meet in the ring on May 2nd, on this week's Pretender Contender, we ask, is this a life jacket needed to save boxing, or is it too little, too late? We welcome back Cousin Vinny, Shaun McMahon, Anthony Cornelli, $250 million super fight. If there's anything that's labeled a super fight, it's this one. Is this what boxing needs?
I think it's a pretender. For a non-boxing fan, I remember growing up to the big cards, the big pay-per-views, the Tyson Holyfields, the Lennox Lewis fights. And for me, being an outsider, if I don't get the heavyweights, the big heavyweights back into the sport, most people say that the best, most entertaining fights are the small guys. They go at it. But for me, I'm not interested. So regardless if this is the fight of the century, I'm not interested. I don't think it's bringing boxing back.
Do you think that boxing needs an American heavyweight champion? Because that usually plays a lot with regards to boxing. They need someone to be able to ploy and be able to push it forward.
For me, it doesn't really matter where you're from. As long as you're eccentric and you're bringing, like Mike, I love Mike Tyson. He might not have been the greatest fighter of all time, but he was a big knockout puncher. He brought the fans to the sport.
I disagree with you. I think this fight is a contender to bring eyeballs to the sport. Ultimately, what you're trying to do is you're trying to bring as much exposure as you can to a sport that's in dire need of eyeballs, right? To get people back onto the bandwagon, as they say. And what better than a super fight? We haven't had, and that's been one of the things that really knocks boxing for a long time. The guys are not facing each other at the best moments, right? In MMA, you've got the #1 contender versus the champion at all times. In boxing, you don't see that. So I definitely think they're a contender to bring some eyeballs back and maybe save, or at least give it a shot.
Well, I agree. It's the anticipation, too, right? They've never fought each other. So it's years and years in the making. These guys got to do it now because they're both pushing 40. Yeah. Let's be honest.
And even so, you could even argue it's 5 years too late, 4 or 5 years too late.
True. I know there was an opportunity. It never happened. But I think it's good for the sport, for sure. Absolutely.
See, I look at this as a casual boxing fan. And this is why I think this is a complete contender. Because as an outsider, this is exactly what brings me to boxing. I want to see the two big names. And even if it is a little bit late, and granted, I think it is, but it's still what's going to bring me. And clearly, the ticket sales are fine. I think they sold out at MGM in, what was it, 15 minutes?
Yeah. $650 a night.
And it'll be $100 on pay-per-view if you want the HD. So the numbers will be there. It's going to be an absolute juggernaut. And that's exactly what the sport needs. It's all eyeballs on this one event.
This has pretenders still written all over for me. I mean, 5 years ago, like you said, this fight might be 5 years too late. Mayweather was gliding across that ring. Pacquiao was throwing punches, lightning speed. Right now, you have somebody that Mayweather hasn't stopped anybody legitimately since like Ricky Hatton in 2007. You know, and Manny Pacquiao that's trying to like record records and sing in his country. So like how are these guys going to be ready for the fight? I think everything around the fight is leading up to this huge card.
But you can't deny
in the ring.
But you can't deny the fact that whether it's the undercard, the co-main event, the fact of the promotion, the build up, the hype, the stories leading into it, them following Floyd, them following Manny. There's no denying the fact that this is definitely going to get people interested.
It's a show.
The question is, and that's where I'm sort of on the fence with pretender or contender, is it enough to sustain them for a long time? And that, I think, is going to matter in terms of the undercard and what quality boxing you're going to be able to showcase. Would you not agree?
I think whenever you put two big names against each other in any sport, it's going to draw attention, right? If there was a way to put Crosby and Ovechkin against each other one-on-one, right?
They should have done that in the All-Star game.
I'm telling you, right?
You see, somehow we brought it back to hockey.
You can't play one-on-one shinny in the All-Star game.
You know, when Federer plays Nadal, it happens in any sport. This is, for sure, people are going to be all over.
This is Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior, WrestleMania, all over again.
No, you can't compete. Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior takes the cake, my friend.
I think you might be right.
There's also a lot of, in terms of the pundits, there also has to be a lot of hype, but the product also has to deliver as well. And that's one of the things that's a little bit worrisome, because if it doesn't, I mean, it's hit or miss right now. Because if this product doesn't hit, and it's not one of the greatest fights of all time, because we know the hype is there, we know the promotion's there, but
does it come down to converting the casual boxing fan? I think if you can convert some people who weren't necessarily into it, if this is the first time that they look at this event, they say, wow, what have I been missing this entire time? Well, then I think boxing comes out a winner.
I'm honestly looking forward to see who Mayweather walks out with. That's all I'm looking forward to.
Let's hope it's not Justin Bieber. Stay right there. We're moving on to our Pretender Contender segment. You don't want to miss it. All that and more happening right here on Read Between the Lines.
Read Between the Lines is brought to you by Tilmar.ca. Innovative designs in the ceramic industry.